Hey, Nicole.
Hey, is this canceled?
Yeah, you know what? I joined because for some reason, this meeting is still on the calendar. Um,
Like, I
so
know you all discussed it because of open source day tomorrow, when I'm sure people traveling.
well, yeah, it ain't just OpenSSF day. So I had to change my flight because um Christine and we got the lightning talk this evening, and I didn't even I didn't even
Oh,
yeah, it's this evening, and I didn't even know it was this evening, so I ended up having to change my flight just to make sure that I'm there this evening. Uh, just make sure I'm there this evening for it. Uh, so it's not an OpenSSF day is tomorrow, but there's stuff going on all week. So I don't even know. Hell, there's all these meetings are still on the calendar for some reason. I could have swore that we canceled that all of the meetings were canceled all week for this. But all the meetings are still here. So I said, well, let me join anyway, just to make sure.
yeah, because I mean, you all said that. So I was like, okay, well, I guess maybe they're good. Maybe this is just going to be kind of a review or prep. So your lightning talk is just about getting people to join DEI?
They gave us they gave us 5 minutes today. I had to change my flight for literally 5 minutes.
Oh, that's terrible. They couldn't
Yeah, it's
Zoom y'all
ridiculous.
in or something?
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous. I was like, man, come on. I was like, come on, man. I was supposed to get there this evening. I had to change my whole routine around. I had to change everything around.
Had to cancel all your hot dates and everything.
I mean, if I had hot dates to cancel, that's what would have happened. That's what would have happened.
I mean,
I
it goes
luckily
down in Vancouver, right?
we the bros, and well, you know, wait, this call's being recorded. I can't say all that. You got me talking. You got me talking reckless on the recorded line.
All I said is it goes down in Vancouver. That's all I
I've
said.
never, I've never been to Vancouver. I've never.
Oh,
I don't know what goes down there. I've never been there. Oh
oh,
God.
that's allegedly. They tape a lot of TV shows there.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. Vancouver is
I
up and
figure
door.
it's got to have a it's got to have a little bit of a happening scene,
You know, it might.
especially how to start off.
Yeah, it might. We'll see. We'll see. Are you gonna be there?
No, I'm not going to Vancouver. I have things to do here.
Okay.
If
Okay.
y'all come to
Cool.
OWASP, maybe I'll see y'all.
You said
I
OWASP?
did have a question. Yeah, OWASP conference is near me.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if we'll be there. I don't know if I'll be. We'll see.
Um, how, I guess, what is the stance of, I know there was talk about moving DEI up a level so it
Mhm.
could better work across OpenSSF. Was there any progress with that?
Oh, there's a lot of progress with it. We have a lot of buy-in for it too. I'll be doing a lot of that conversation this week. Still working out the proposal for it. Now that we have a fully functional TAC, and catch this, our working group chair, Krob, is now the chair of the TAC.
Oh,
So
that's
we
got to be
have,
helpful because
yes.
Crow
So
is
not
very
only do we
helpful.
have the buy-in we need, we
Does
also
he
have
like
the person,
Crow or C
huh?
Rob? Does he
They
like
call him
Crow or C?
C-Rob, but I call him Krob. Krob, C-Rob, it's all the same. He'll
Okay,
answer
I
the
just didn't
item.
know. Sorry,
But
sorry,
but
he
he
distracted me. Sorry.
yeah, he's the chair of the TAC now.
Oh, well, that's
So we have the not only the buy-in that we need, we also have the support at the TAC level to actually get something pushed through like this. We have to dot the I's and cross the T's, but we have what we need now at the TAC to get through what we need to get through. So all good stuff.
okay. Now this is just my thought because I do have a bit of free time over the next 2 weeks, and I wanted to make sure we kind of had some better one-pagers for you and Christine about this
Mhm.
group. and kind of where we're going, right?
Yeah.
And I realize we probably might need one. I'll go ahead and definitely do one for the list, because I think we talk about and everybody gets it, but I do think if we have everything on one page about the benefits of that and why that's such a big gap,
Yeah.
um, that could be beneficial. And I actually think that's something, once we get the initial data down, to potentially do a web crawler, maybe a potential project to work through Yasina with her college groups.
Mhm.
So for something automatically adding on to it, and then because I really see the utility of this group of kind of making itself to be a hub, right?
Yeah.
Like, I know you all like talk about mentorship, and I really hope that's linking into some other groups' mentorship, because I don't know, I've ran a lot of programs, like from a service program standpoint before throughout my life. And I think mentorships, full ownership sometimes can be messy.
Yeah.
I think it can be messy sometimes, just from the standpoint of supply and demand, what people are supposed to get out of it. And just kind of focusing that. I think that's a little bit more of a mature thing. That's just my experience with it. And especially since the first thing I see with all of these groups are we do mentoring. And I don't see statements after the mentoring as far as what they're trying to achieve, right?
So one thing that we're probably going to end up trying to do, and I guess it's to your point, is making sure that we're in alignment with LF on whatever they're doing.
So like I know Yesenia is doing the college program, and filtering people for that college program makes a lot of sense to me, right?
Yeah.
Building on that engagement with that. Yeah. Like that makes sense, right? But I just also see that's another side benefit of that list. We can literally see what people are doing, so we can try and maximize, I guess, kind of impact. But I do just think for a group, as we're moving up, just to show people we kind of got a plan of where we're going, and just to get everybody speaking the same language, right?
Well, I mean, that's always the general idea. I mean, you want everybody to be on the same sheet of music with whatever you got going on. I mean, especially initiative wise. I want to make sure that we're in alignment with the LF, with the higher LF, because that's going to help us branch out to other foundations under the LF. That's going to help us, create the message we need to create across the board. Especially when it comes time for us to ask for dollars. Like, for instance, one of the places I want to get to is we're bringing out people from high schools or colleges to these conferences. I want to get there. I want to get to where we're paying for underrepresented communities to show up. And that takes buy-in. That takes a lot of buy-in. That's not something that's going to happen because we think it's a good idea. That's going to happen. That's going to happen because we're saying, hey, we have the numbers and we have the data to support us doing something like that, where we can get those individuals here, and it's sound. It makes sense for them to be here. You know what I mean? Like I want to make sure that we're dialed in that way as well. That's going to be a larger animal to tackle. I think but once we get to that level, though, once we're able to up level the DE&I group to that level, I think it'll be a lot easier to then force the conversations, right? Momentum wise, huh?
I said, makes sense to me.
Yeah, I think we raise up, and then like, for instance, today Thursday, Thursday, I'll be giving a talk with the VP over training and development in the LF. Me and him will be giving a talk on Thursday around talent, and how to, recognizing talent pools, and the current state of play as far as the recent layoffs and everything else, right? But that's an excellent opportunity for me to actually engage with him on DE&I education across the board, right? So what are we doing training and development wise on DE&I initiatives? Are we really identifying and targeting the real concerns in the DE&I training, right? Are we just saying, hey, recognize blind spots, hey, do this, or are we actually saying, hey, what does true allyship actually mean? Are we just saying, hey, look out for an underrepresented community, or are we really enforcing, hey, underrepresented communities have the talent and we don't need you to hold hand. What we need you to do is provide equitable situations, right? So what does that mean? What does real prejudice, real racism, real bigotry, what do those 4 things actually mean? What do those things look like? How are we enforcing change in those areas? And then, how are we eliminating now the blind spots that we're talking about? Is that in the training? And if it isn't, should it be? Right. So there's things like that. I have an area to touch.
I would further expand upon some of your areas there. I mean, since you're going to be talking to him, and I don't want to keep you too long because I know you changing flights and getting ready to go down up to Vancouver where it goes down. But I think you should also expand it to say, not only in light of layoffs, but in light of many things being available across the internet, how is some of the training and development money being used to identify core skills that people need, not only being trained by DEI people, but also skills gaps identified in DEI people?
Yeah,
right?
we have a whole presentation. So the conversation I'm going to have with him is offline. There's a whole presentation we're giving that talks about the very thing that you're targeting. So it ain't just the hard skills. It's
But then the other part I would also say, just from being Black and working in tech, is I know we talk about fighting racism, but I feel like and especially in the Black community, that we don't efficiently target some of those incidents unless someone was actually called a derogatory term.
Okay. Let me sprinkle you with something. This is something I do. I do this in any conversation they put me in, where we have our usual yearly, let's talk about the Great Divide. I sit in a room, right? And they put me in there, and the first thing I start off with, I say is, I'm not gonna point the finger at white men in this room. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna point the finger at white men in the room right now because that's too easy. The very first thing I do is I say, hey, we have a lot of Black VPs in this room, a lot of Black general managers. Let me ask y'all a question. Over the last year, how many people from underrepresented communities have you hired? I start off like that. And the reason why I do that is because I need people to understand, if I'm in that room, this is what I'm in that room to do. I'm not in that room to point the finger at anybody. I'm in that room to cast a net over everybody, because it puts us all on the same beat of music, right? there is a difference between saying, you know, there's systemic racism. Okay, so we already know that. We already know that. Now what? But
No,
my problem is,
my point wasn't going to be to call out systemic racism. It's more so on really working with people on plans and strategies to speak up about it and create a paper trail for change.
oh, that's
Right.
so,
And
yeah.
and I would explain, and I would go, not, this is not just a racism, this is gender and other isms that exist out there. Most people, either they get fired and run away, even though there might be a clear pattern of um people, or particular people of a gender or of a race, who literally are not allowed to make mistakes on the job, and they just run away and nobody ever writes or puts anything down. And a lot of time it comes down to it, if you're struggling to go to another job, you don't have the money to afford a lawyer, because employment lawyers will tell you real quick, unless you have evidence of someone calling you a racial slur, or you've got evidence of someone doing a physical act of violence against you, the employment lawyers are not going to be able to do it pro bono, because they know they don't have a lockdown case. You probably will be able to win, provided you can show a pattern. But like, there are videos on YouTube that tell people, like, if you think something's screwy, here are some basic things you need to do. And just kind of making sure that information is available for people, so they can understand the difference between a discriminatory pattern versus a personal grievance, or a personal grievance that happens to show up in a discriminatory pattern.
Yeah, we're not gonna, so we have to pick our battles, right? We're not gonna get white people to do that. I'm saying it like that on this recorded line. So we're not gonna get.
No, what I'm saying is just like, I guess at my point is just like resources to help people when they're frustrated to do better analysis of their situation. Right. I'm just point blank period, because sometimes there are some people who are, it might be personal, right? But I think when you talk about some of these issues, people base it on very clear incidents, and if they are really concerned about changing the culture, being cognizant and relevant of those things to help determine which is which, right? Because I would argue on the same.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that. What I'm saying is, I think some of that stuff we need to figure out how to put into a piece of training, or put into a conversation, because you always have to operate from a position of earnest, right?
And I think so, because I mean, I've seen cases where there have been some people who said they were being discriminated against, and they actually just weren't doing their work right.
Right.
Versus some cases where somebody thought it was their work and there was a clear pattern, right? I mean, I'm just saying, like, if you're going to talk about DEI issues at the heart and having resources available, if you're going to target some of the working force, I feel like nobody really goes at that angle, really.
Oh, well, and so I hear you. And the reason why I'm thinking no one does is because there's two factors here.
I know it could get messy real fast.
What's the lead up? What's the lead up to that, right? And you hit the nail on the head. What's the lead up?
Well, part of it is an overall retention of talent area. I said that before. There's so much effort trying to recruit people to go in cyber, but I can also tell you there's a lot of people running out of cyber.
Yeah.
Go
ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say what I would love to see that happen, but from a place of, here are our assumptions. Our assumptions are you have done our assumptions are this is how I would go into that. And this is like, in my mind, it would be, you can't start from a place of all unknowns, right? Before you go down that road, there's a few knowns that have to take place. We know your work is exemplary. We know you're at the right place at the right time in the right uniform. And I'm just, we know that you have evaluations that have been documented and are stellar. We know that, that there are certain knowns, right? Because when we go down that road and we're talking about protecting yourself, you got to document, and not just document the negative. The positive must be documented as well. So for instance, teaching something like, hey, at the end of a great meeting, at the end of a great meeting, or at the end of a project that you completed and the project was done across multiple teams and it was done successfully, you led that work, or you led a task, or you led a function in that work, and that work was done. Why don't you send out a quick note to the PM, or send out a quick note to your manager, or send out a quick note just saying, hey, I want to thank you again for empowering me to do this great work. I want to highlight some of the things that were accomplished, and then ask them to send you something back that confirms that, right? There is a lot of legwork before any negative even occurs, before any rearing of any ugly heads. There's legwork that's happened before, right? To teach that accurately, there's a whole slew of things that need to happen before, which is the reason why things that you're talking about is so hard to prove at the end, because you don't know the beginning. I
mean, that part I get, but employing that mindset with people, that's, I mean, I don't know, you talk about training and dealing stuff, because most DEI stuff focuses on using pronouns and words and
hey, microaggressions. You look, so now that you know the game in front of you, so play it. It's not, we're not, and like I said, you have to act from a place of earnest. No one's out to get you. You got to act from that place. You got to act from the place where no one's out to get you. Because theoretically, no one's out to get you. You're not, you can't, it's very difficult. And understand, the reason why it's so difficult is because the person who's being affected is the one that's crying. There's no one else crying on that person's behalf. And what you want is those allies to notice and then act on your behalf, because that corroborates your story. No one likes when something is being done to them, or the perception of something being done to them. But the perception is exactly what it is. Everything could be different on the outside of you being in it. On the outside looking in, that whole situation could look a whole lot different than from the inside of that situation. Right? You have to be able to have all of your ducks in a row, so that when the turn is made, you're able to point back at something that says, well, hold on. We just talked about this, but you're doing this. Why are you doing this? You know I'm in the best position for this because of these things. And we talked about this. And we have the documented conversations. So now you have a place to go. Without that, you don't have that. And now there's other people that can corroborate that, because now you're on the side of right rather than being on the side of perceived right. There was something somebody told me one day that made all the difference in the world to me, what I'm telling you right now. Sometimes it's not enough just to be right. They left it just like that.
I agree with that, but I mean, I guess I'm saying, like, as far as for training topics, if you're trying to go somewhere else, I mean, that's all I'm saying.
Oh, I mean, true that, and thinking about that training, like I said, there's a whole. I would like us to not train towards the negative. I would like for us to train towards the positive, meaning before we get to this is how you protect yourself, we get to these should become normal habits and practices
Yes, how to make
you do
sure
work.
you are building and documenting your success. That right under that
Exactly.
guise,
Because
right?
and then mainly because look, these organizations, they know that, like for instance, Microsoft, we have a whole evaluation program. We do it twice a year where we put down how are we impactful, how did we meet core principles,
And
all that
and
kind of
and
stuff, right?
and all of that is great, like I said, for employees, but a big part of DEI, you also need to address the contracting factor because a
Well,
lot of that stuff does not apply, but you can still sue for discrimination and win.
oh,
So
I mean, absolutely. So contracting and all that stuff needs to happen as well. And that is something that we can do externally. We can use this form for that, right? So we can address all parts. We can address the parts when you're an FTE. We can address the parts when you're consulting to organizations and how to protect yourself there. And especially when you're the stuff that I'm talking about is especially important when you're consulting,
yeah,
because
you don't.
that's how statements of work get created, right?
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Your statements of work get created. How do you perform against those statements of work? So we're not talking about OKRs now. We're talking about KPIs and then leading into OKRs. So how are you performing against that statement of work, right? Do you what is your check-in period? How do you what's your milestone like, right? When you get to certain milestones, is there a check-in? Is there a check and balance on milestones? What does success mean, right? So these are things that we could teach, and I would rather us form our training around teaching those things on the positive rather than addressing what happens in the negative. We can address that later based on learned lessons in the positive.
I'm not in any disagreement with you. I'm just bringing
No.
it up as if we're going to talk about training and DEI outside of skills both ways, right? People teaching them what's available, what's effective, targeting certain groups, right? I think the first meeting I was in where Max was like soft technical skills, right?
Mhm.
Knowing how to use GitHub, doing pull requests properly and things like that. I thought that was a very valid point because I find there are a lot of people who don't have certain soft engineering skills that you would expect for them to have.
Well, that's across the
And
board. I mean,
yeah, right. But I'm
you,
saying
you,
like, as far as training, I'm just saying like both ways with things that are out there, right? But I'd also say when you bring up DEI, I just think that whole angle and aspect needs to be handled if you're actually trying to do something impactful, right?
well, absolutely.
And
The soft skills.
I'm not disagreeing with your approach at all,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, the soft skills definitely need to get handled. I mean, you're also fighting uphill with a bunch of individuals that, I mean, look, and that's not everybody, but most engineers are uh, introverts. You've got to consider that aspect as well. Like I said, operate from a place of earnest. It ain't that you're getting ignored. It ain't that I mean, they're introverts, right? So they're very territorial, very protective of themselves. They like closed spaces. They don't like to be around a lot of people or talk a lot or be social, right? And this is a social uh, 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 a social construct. I mean, it's in every sense of the word. So the perception might be one way when it's clearly another. And we're talking about up and down the hierarchy. So remember, you have your engineer one, your engineer two, your senior engineer, your engineering manager, and then you have your general managers and your VPs and everything else. Remember, they're all the same engineer and they all come from that same introverted situation. So operating from a place of earnest, saying, hey, this is a social construct, and you may not necessarily have built all the way up and down that soft skill you're talking about, all the way up and down the spectrum, that hasn't been built, right? So how to teach someone now that's leading geeks, for instance, right? Leading geeks. how to teach someone leading geeks who is a geek themselves, how to develop that social muscle to be able to tackle these issues that need to be tackled. That gets incredibly harder too. And that might be a whole different set of training. How do you teach an introvert engineer with 20, 30 years of experience a new social construct to engage better with underrepresented communities that he, by all accounts, has never worked with before, engineering? Remember, at one time, we weren't allowed in the game like that. Or when we were in the game, we had to be in a different room in the game. We weren't allowed in the same room. So they didn't see us. I mean, think about it this way, right? Some of us, and I mean, it's less than what it was, but still on average more than those. We have to earn college degrees to get into these organizations and be engineers. You didn't know how many engineers I work with right now that have 10, 15 years in Microsoft, no college degree. What does that mean? That means while I was, well, I mean, I'm using myself. See, I earned mine jumping out of planes and, in the military. But like, the average.
Good job, good job.
The average underrepresented community and that are engineers right now, they went to school for 6 years, right? Bachelor's degree, master's degree. Maybe they went to school for an additional 4 years, right? 10 years to earn a PhD to be an engineer. Well, guess what? That engineering manager that they report to, who's been in the same company for that same 10 years, didn't go to school. They just happen to have a talent they just happen to learn coding. And they learned it enough to get hired. Somebody gave them a chance. And then they made their mistakes. They were able to learn on the job. They were able to grow in the company. And now here they are, everybody's 10 years later, where you went to, they wouldn't let you in. You were doing the same coding they was doing, but they didn't let you in. So now you had to go to school and earn your bones in school, get that piece of paper so that they say, okay, you can code. But guess who you have to work for now, right? There's a whole dynamic here that needs to be addressed across the board, and it's no one's fault. Like I said, you have to start from a place of earnest. It's no one's fault. It's just the state of play that needs to be addressed.
Well, that was just my comments towards discussing training.
I know we had to get into these conversations,
Yeah, at a later time. Like I said, I didn't want to kind of hold you up because I know you got to get there to speak for 5 minutes.
I mean, I got to check bags here in like I got to check bags in like 40 minutes. Flight leaves, and check some bags and get my behind to the gate and all that.
Yeah, you got to look and see what's popping in Vancouver. You there for the whole week?
I'm there until Friday.
No. It's a nice little trip.
Yeah.
Hoping they put you up in a good room. Maybe not.
Oh, I'm not worried about that. I have status in Marriott, so I'm not worried about that. I'll be in
some gold status, platinum status.
No, it's platinum, diamond, something like that.
Nice to know.
Yeah, we have status and all that. Yeah, it'll be comfortable.
That is good. So then outside of that, is there anything else, I guess, pressing for this group?
No. No, we got the presentations this week. Sal's zine that she and her mentee did. I think it's fantastic. If you hadn't had a chance to look at it, I think she put it up in if she didn't send it to me directly, I think she might have put up a version of it in the Slack.
I didn't see it.
It's fantastic, man. All the quotes
What
in
is
there,
it?
the way is, yeah, all the quotes, all the way it was done, it was very nicely done. I was like, wow, I'm impressed. And I get to meet,
What is it? What did she do? It's a
a
presentation
zine.
on what?
It's called a zine. So basically it's just it's a
Oh, she made an
it's like an art.
e-magazine.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
e-magazine, like a e-magazine, but it's very artfully done around cybersecurity and around, like it's in around cybersecurity and DE&I and cybersecurity too. So it's very nicely done, very nicely done. Yeah, yeah, I could get behind it. I was like, this is fantastic. I had never seen like it before in my life, so I was like, ooh, wee, like that. Yeah, yeah, I'd never seen anything like it before.
Okay. Well, I will get back to working on this list and tracking down these people at FAMU for your senior.
Cool. I'm getting ready to go get myself together and get out this damn door.
Oh, I thought you was already at the airport chilling.
No. I'm still. I mean, I live 8 minutes from the airport, but I gotta quickly get myself together, finish my bag, and then get on the ride. I have everything else packed into my main bag, so I put my toiletries at, so I can get myself together, get the toiletries in this bag, and get out the door.
You're forever multitasking on this call. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I wish nothing but you and Christine the best of luck.
Thank you.
I think you got things in hand.
Hopefully. And if we don't, you'll hear about it. Yeah. If we don't, you'll hear about it.
On to your mission of elevating DEI.
Yeah. Hopefully. Well, I remain optimistic. I remain optimistic. Yeah.
I think so. I don't see where anybody's giving y'all pushback. There's room for growth.
No pushback. No pushback. But also no pushback, but also I'd like to see the buy-in. I'd like to see the buy-in increase and improve, though. No pushback. I'd like to see more buy-in, though. That's the direction I'm headed in. I want to see more buy-in. No pushback. Definitely a need for more buy-in, though.
I think you get it. But yes, be out, go to the airport.
Yeah. All right.
Let me know how it goes down in Vancouver.
Yeah, we'll do.
Bye.
All right, bye.